Hey everybody, Chris Orlop here, and in this video series, you are going to learn to create a magnetic force that closes 6 and 7 figure deals consistently, even in a down economy. The key to making that happen is to create a full-blown league of champions within your accounts and empower them with a bulletproof business case that they can use to sell the living hell out of your product when you're not there. Because most deals are won and lost in internal conversations when the salesperson is not in the room. But today, you're not going to hear from me on this subject. You are going to hear from a guy named Nate Nasralla, CEO of Fluent.io. Nate is the world's leading expert on creating a formidable league of champions that get deals closed in your accounts on your behalf and empowering them with bulletproof business cases that they can use to sell when you're not there. The techniques and frameworks you're about to learn from Nate in this free video series are responsible for a $1.19 million average deal size. Okay, Nate has sold to mega brands like Microsoft, Allstate, American Express, State Farm, HubSpot, Estee Lauder, and other giant companies just like that. Now, not only that, Nate also built an enterprise sales business unit that went on to exceed quota for 24 quarters in a row. That is 6 years of uninterrupted quota attainment, which is incredibly rare in an enterprise selling environment. They're usually very lumpy and unpredictable. So Nate knows his stuff when it comes to closing 6 and 7 figure deals. So I've got 3 videos coming at you from Nate. This is the first one. Stay tuned and learn exactly how to close 6 and 7 figure deals using Nate's techniques and frameworks. Here's Nate.
I saw an opportunity. Most of the deals that the company was doing at that time were kind of small SMB, a couple mid-market type deals. But I went to our CEO, Bill, and I said, Bill, we got an opportunity here. Let's start up an enterprise team, an enterprise unit to start doing more complex deals. Selling through government agencies, think Fortune 500, CSR responsibility type programs that want to make community impact. More complex deals, larger contract values. And I kept bugging him on this idea time and time and time again. Now, eventually, Bill caved and he was like, all right, you go land the first contract, you show that this is possible, and then we'll start putting some resources behind this. So I said, okay, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go sell the first complex deal, and we're going to start paving the path to do this. Now, 3 months later, I walk into Bill's office with a contract for a healthy 6-figure deal. And it had only been like 3 months later. And I say, Bill, here you go. And he, I'm sure he probably like rolled his eyes at the time, but he was like, all right, good deal. Go start building out the process, the team, the business unit, and we'll start to put some resources behind this. So that's what I did. Now, 1 quarter later, here I am. I closed zero, posted a donut the next quarter, and thus began a rather awkward and lonely period of reflection. So I started to think like, man, what was it about that first deal where everything just seemed to like come together? So I went back to the champion that I was working with in that deal. His name was Charles. And I said, Charles, explain this to me. We built our partnership so easily. There was like minimal friction, minimal bumps in the road, pretty quick. Like, what happened? What do you know about this deal that I don't? What were you doing that I never saw? And what Charles began to do is open up all of the decks, the memos, the internal materials that he was using to have conversations about our deal without me in the room. Now, what I learned in the big idea from that story that sets up the rest of this course is that really I wasn't selling, I was gambling. And the reason is if you think about the definition of gambling, like what is it? It's operating with limited information, high degrees of uncertainty, with an outcome that is totally outside of your control. And if you think about it, that is sales for most of us, right? Because we are, and then just put yourself like maybe this quarter or last quarter. What did you feel? One, you had a lot riding on it, right? It was high stakes. But for most of us, sales feels highly uncertain. We don't know exactly which deals we're going to win, and there's no way to guarantee that we're going to win. And so, do you really want to roll the dice with deals in your pipeline? Obviously, that's a loaded question, right? The answer is no. But here's the question for you to consider. Do you know what's happening behind closed doors in your deals? Because for most of us and for most reps out there, we're not aware of the internal dynamics and the forces that are at play, and forces that are far more powerful than medic or banter, insert whatever flavor is yours, right? There are so many social structures, political games, posturing, angles that goes down behind closed doors that is actually what defines the outcome of your deal. So if you're not sure what's happening when you're not in the room, who's saying what to who and when, and you don't have a direct hand in shaping some of those internal buying conversations, the most important moments, then you're just gambling. You're not selling. However, every single week, your champions are the people who are there behind closed doors, and they are having conversations about you, without you, and just like the example of Charles, creating content to help guide their message to their internal team. Now, your job description, part of it is influencing and shaping the outcome of your deal, which is exactly why we need to, all of us, we need to be selling with champions. When we're not, what that means is ultimately we're leaving deals on the table. You can see this if your win rate is below 50%, if it feels like your sales cycle is just kind of like drag on, and if you just feel like a little bit of anxiety around what's going to go down in your pipeline. At the beginning of the quarter, the scoreboard resets. How will you end this quarter? What's it feel like? For a lot of us, it's kind of like, we just have this like sense of dread of like, I don't know what's going to happen. However, and through this course, with everything that we go through that you learn and then you start to practice, here's what's possible. You'll see win rates 50, 60, 70+%. Cycle times, you're going to see them shrink, even in a quote, down economy. And you're going to get a full night's sleep. You're going to know that you are doing everything that you can to control the unknowns, what's going down behind closed doors, because you have a solid and a committed champion alongside of you. Now, I want to frame everything that we do here, everything that we go through in this course around a simple shift. And that shift is this. Previously, sales and a sales enablement worldview was all about you, the sales rep, in the sales meeting. That was the center of the deal. And oftentimes this looked like efficiency, like let's create templates, automation to get some content and follow up fast so that we can get back to the next sales meeting. And it was all about the sales rep being the closer, closing deals. However, what we're going to do and what you are now going to step into is a buyer enablement worldview, where internal meetings, that's the center of the sale. And so part of what you need to do is not only create a champion who is the one closing deals, but enable them with a unique narrative style business case that lays out the entirety of the message that they need to get the entire buying team aligned with your deal and moving forward. So this is the big idea within that shift. Sales reps don't close deals. Champions do, because they're on the inside for all of the make or break moments, the debates, the decisions about problems, their level of priority that are always going to be happening both before and after your sales meetings, which means your champions, think of them as like they're your inside sales reps, right? They're helping you control the outcomes so that you're not just gambling with your deals, but instead you're stacking the deck in your favor. Now, this shifts your job description, right? If you're on board with making this shift, that means that the way to think about it is you're responsible for creating a committed champion for every deal in your pipeline and enabling them with a clear, a compelling business case so that you can start to win what previously you may have thought of as just like an unwinnable deal. Now you're seeing those regularly moving over into the closed won column. This isn't like a maybe it'll work if I invest that amount of time and effort and intention. This will work because everything that we go through, it's already been proven both by myself selling directly and then enabling sellers on the teams that I have built so that they could go out and close complex deals. Now, I told you the story of my first startup. After building that team, I went and built an enterprise sales team for a company that, think of it as a product that if you're familiar with Crunchbase, it was a comparable software platform. However, we sourced hard to find intelligence on startups, emerging technologies, by partnering with VC firms, accelerators, startup studios around the world. So we would work with large Fortune 500 innovation teams, launching new products, entering new markets to help power those projects. Highly complex deals, multiple different business units. And you can see these were all of the different types of companies that we worked with using the framework that I'm going to go through. And the result of that is our teams, we meet and beat quota for 24 straight quarters. And these were in highly variable environments, building the process as we were going. So it wasn't like we were just stepping in and running a repeatable motion. Oftentimes we were managing to pretty aggressive targets that were given to us top down, not built bottom up. And within all of that, selling with champions, it was always the thing that we could count on. It took us from 0 to 30% of company ARR in 3 years. So this all kicked off after that. Remember that kind of awkward Ryan Gosling notebook moment when I was just kind of sitting there trying to figure out what to do? This is what we did. We created this framework, and it has been something that I have worked on for the last 7 years. And now we're going to go through it step by step. And I want to show you just one small example of one seller that I was working with one-on-one. She had just made the jump from SMB directly into enterprise. She was pretty nervous about that because, that's a pretty healthy, that's a big jump. And her expectation was, man, larger deals, more complex deals, it's going to feel very hard all the time. But if you notice what's underlined here, it's actually pretty cool. She's saying is like, this almost felt like easier. And the reason is that everything that we go through, regardless of the industry that you're selling in, these are going to be very practical steps that you can use to, again, decrease the amount of uncertainty in variable deals. Feel like, man, I'm not gambling anymore. I actually have a path here and I'm enjoying it. Like, this is a genuinely enjoyable way to sell. You're going deep and working with people who sometimes, like old champions that we worked with, not that friendship is the end all be all, but we went deep and we became really good friends. They stay at my house in Denver when they travel through. So in the words of this rep, it's going to be an enjoyable way, almost like you're putting the game on easy mode.
All right. So you just learned what's possible when you get really, really good at building a league of champions and building formidable business cases that they can use to sell when you're not in the room. In the next couple videos, we're going to go deep on some of the exact frameworks Nate has used to close these mega deals and has taught countless other enterprise sellers how to do it. So stay tuned for video 2, where we're going to start walking through the exact champion development frameworks Nate uses that you can start using immediately. That video is going to come out in just a couple days. So keep your eyes peeled. Now, last thing before we close out here, I want to hear from you. Okay, if you got this video via email, reply to this email and just let me know what questions you have, or if you got value from this. I just want to hear that you're there. Or if you're seeing this on social media, write in the comments below what questions you have, what resonated with you, and I'll talk to you in a couple days when we get to the second video in this series, so stay tuned.